You're sitting across from your boss. He leans back, hands clasped behind his head, relaxed, confident, in control. You, fidgeting, hands on the table, defensive posture, screaming weakness. He hasn't said a word yet, but you've already lost. This is Daniel's reality 6 months ago. Every meeting, every negotiation, every conversation with authority figures he walked in, already defeated. Not because of what he said, because of what his body screamed before he opened his mouth. Fast forward to today. Same boardroom, same boss, different Daniel. This time, Daniel walks in with his hands behind his back, shoulders squared. Eye contact, unwavering. His boss, now the one fidgeting. What changed? Daniel learned the language. Most people can't speak, but everyone understands. Body language psychology. The silent weapon that controls every interaction you'll ever have. And in the next 30 minutes, you're going to learn exactly what Daniel discovered. 5 body language signals that expose who has power in any room. And more importantly, how to weaponize them before someone uses them against you. Let's rewind to where this all started. 6 months ago, 9 a.m. Daniel walks into his quarterly review. His manager, Richard, is already seated, hands behind his back, standing near the window. Not even looking at Daniel when he enters. Daniel feels it immediately. That sinking feeling in his chest. The urge to apologize for existing. Richard finally turns. Still hands behind his back. Chin slightly elevated. "Good morning, Daniel. Have a seat." Daniel sits, hands on the table, palms down, trying to look confident, but his body is betraying him. Richard remains standing, hands still clasped behind his back, pacing slowly. "I've been reviewing your numbers. They're adequate. Adequate." The word hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. Daniel opens his mouth to defend himself, but Richard raises one hand. Palm out. "Stop. I'm not finished." Richard walks behind Daniel's chair. Daniel can feel him there, looming, hands still behind his back. The ultimate power position. You're capable of more, but you lack something. Presence, authority. When you walk into a room, people don't feel your weight. Daniel's jaw tightens. He wants to argue. But he knows Richard is right. The meeting ends. Richard extends his hand for a shake. But even in that moment, his other hand stays behind his back. Never fully committing. Never fully vulnerable. Daniel leaves that office feeling hollow. Not because of what was said, but because of what was demonstrated. Richard controlled that entire interaction without raising his voice, without threats. Just body language. That night, Daniel can't sleep. He replays the meeting in his mind. Richard's posture. That infuriating confidence. Hands behind his back, like a general inspecting troops. Daniel starts researching, falls down a rabbit hole of body language psychology, and discovers something fascinating. Hands behind the back is one of the oldest power displays in human history. Royalty used it. Military officers used it. CEOs use it. Why? Because it exposes your most vulnerable areas, your chest, your throat, your stomach, while simultaneously communicating that you have nothing to fear. It's a biological signal that says, I am so confident in my position that I do not need to protect myself from you. Amy Cuddy's research at Harvard proved this. Power poses like hands behind the back actually increase testosterone by 20% and decrease cortisol by 25%. Your body chemistry literally changes. But here's the dark part. The part Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. When you adopt this posture, you don't just feel more powerful. You make everyone else feel less powerful. It's a dominance display, disguised as casual confidence. Daniel realizes Richard wasn't just standing there. He was establishing hierarchy, claiming territory, making Daniel submit without ever saying the words. 2 weeks later, another meeting. Same boardroom, but this time, Daniel walks in differently. He doesn't rush to sit. He stands near the window, hands behind his back, looking out at the city. Richard enters, stops, notices immediately. Daniel turns slowly, hands still behind his back, makes eye contact, nods once. "Richard, good to see you." Richard's eyes narrow slightly. He's registering the shift, the posture, the tone. He moves to his usual position, tries to adopt the same stance. But now it looks reactive, defensive. Daniel gestures to the table. "Shall we?" They sit. But the power dynamic has already shifted. Daniel kept his hands behind his back longer, claimed the dominant position first. Made Richard come to him. The meeting proceeds. But Richard is different. Less commanding, more collaborative. Because Daniel spoke the silent language first, and spoke it louder. After the meeting, Daniel doesn't rush out. He stands, hands behind his back again, extends his hand for a shake, only after establishing his position. Richard shakes, but his grip is different, less crushing, more respectful. Daniel leaves that office feeling something he hasn't felt in years. Presence. Not because he said anything profound, because his body said everything that mattered. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But he also understood that fear doesn't come from violence. It comes from perceived power. And perceived power comes from signals. Subtle, silent, devastating. Hands behind your back is one of those signals. Use it when you enter a room. Use it when you're being challenged. Use it when someone is trying to dominate you. But never use it defensively. Never adopt it after someone else does. That makes you a follower. The key is to claim the position first. Make them react to you. That's what Daniel learned. And that's what changed everything. But the day isn't over. And Daniel is about to discover 4 more signals that will complete his transformation. It's 12:30 p.m. Daniel meets 3 colleagues for lunch at a downtown bistro. Marcus, Jennifer, and Kyle. They're discussing a group project. A presentation due in 2 weeks. Marcus is talking about his role, coordinating with the design team, getting mock-ups ready. But as he talks, his eyes keep darting. Left, right, left again. Jennifer doesn't notice. She's scrolling through her phone. Kyle is nodding along, oblivious. But Daniel sees it, the eye movement, the pattern. Marcus finishes his explanation. Sounds confident, looks confident. Except for those eyes. Daniel leans forward slightly. "So, you've already started coordinating with design?" Marcus nods quickly. "Yeah, absolutely. Had a meeting with them yesterday. Everything's on track." His eyes dart left as he says it. Daniel doesn't push. Not yet. He just files it away. The lunch continues. They order food. Talk about weekend plans. Normal conversation. But Daniel keeps watching Marcus. Every time the project comes up, those eyes move. Left and right, never holding steady. After lunch, they're walking back to the office. Daniel pulls Marcus aside. "Hey, real talk. What's going on with the design team?" Marcus stiffens. "What do you mean? I told you, everything's fine." Eyes dart left. Daniel keeps his voice calm. No judgment. "But I need to know if there's a problem. Because if there is, we can fix it now. If we wait until next week, we're screwed." Marcus exhales. His shoulders drop. "I haven't actually talked to them yet. I've been swamped. I was going to reach out today. I swear. There it is. The truth behind the eye movement. Now here's where most people get this wrong. They think looking left and right means someone is lying. That's a myth, a dangerous one. The idea came from neurolinguistic programming in the 1970s. The theory was that when people look left, they're accessing memory. When they look right, they're constructing fiction. Sounds scientific, except it's complete garbage. A 2012 study, published in PLOS One by Professor Richard Wiseman, tested this with over 700 participants. The result? No correlation whatsoever between eye direction and deception. Zero, none. The myth is dead. So why did Marcus's eye movement matter? Because it wasn't about direction, it was about pattern. When someone's eyes keep darting left, right, it signals cognitive discomfort. Anxiety, the brain is searching for an escape route. It's not a lie detector, it's a stress detector. And stress often accompanies deception. Not always, but often enough to pay attention. Daniel didn't accuse Marcus of lying. He recognized the stress signal and created a safe space for truth. That's the difference between amateur body language, reading, and mastery. Amateurs look for silver bullets. One signal equals one meaning. Masters look for clusters, context, patterns. Marcus's darting eyes, combined with his quick speech and defensive posture, created a cluster that screamed discomfort. So Daniel probed gently and got the truth. Marcus, I appreciate you being honest. Let's fix this together. I'll help you reach out to design this afternoon. We'll get it done. Marcus's entire body relaxes. His eyes stop darting. His shoulders drop. Man, thank you. I've been stressing about this all week. They walk back to the office. Problem solved. But more importantly, Daniel just demonstrated something crucial. Body language isn't about catching people in lies. It's about reading emotional states and responding strategically. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that a wise prince must know how to read men's minds through their actions and adjust his approach accordingly. Not to manipulate, to navigate. Daniel could have called Marcus out in front of everyone, embarrassed him, asserted dominance, but that would have created an enemy, and enemies are expensive. Instead, he used the signal to create an ally. Someone who now owes him, someone who will remember that Daniel helped instead of humiliated. That's dark psychology, applied correctly. You read the signal, you understand the emotion. You respond in a way that serves your long-term interests. Sometimes that means confrontation. Sometimes it means compassion. The key is knowing which tool to use when. Daniel is learning, and the day is far from over. It's 7 p.m. Daniel is sitting across from Sarah at a quiet coffee shop. Third date. Things have been going well. Easy conversation. Genuine laughs. But tonight, something is off. Sarah is talking about her week, her job, her frustrations with a coworker. And as she talks, her right hand keeps moving. Thumb and middle finger. Snap, snap, snap. Not loud, not obvious, but constant. Daniel notices he's been noticing. Everything since this morning. Sarah finishes her story, laughs, takes a sip of her latte. But the snapping continues, unconscious, rhythmic. Daniel shifts the conversation, asks about her weekend plans. Keeps it light. The snapping slows, but doesn't stop. If he tries another angle, compliments her necklace, asks where she got it. The snapping stops for a moment. She smiles. Touches the necklace, then starts snapping again. Daniel realizes something. This isn't about him. This is about her. She's stressed. About something she hasn't mentioned. Something she's carrying. Most guys would miss this. They'd keep pushing, keep trying to impress, keep talking. And they'd watch the date slowly die, without understanding why. But Daniel has been studying signals all day. He knows what finger snapping means. It's a self-soothing behavior, a stress response. The brain is trying to regulate anxiety through repetitive motion. 54% of people use some form of repetitive gesture when they're nervous. Finger snapping, pen clicking, hair twirling. It's not conscious, it's automatic. And it means the person is operating under cognitive load. Their mental bandwidth is maxed out. Sarah isn't present in this conversation. Part of her brain is somewhere else, worrying, processing, stressing. Daniel makes a decision. He leans back, softens his voice. Hey, I'm having a great time, but I'm getting the sense something's on your mind. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. But I want you to know I'm here if you do. Sarah stops mid-snap, looks at him, really looks at him. Her eyes get slightly wet. I'm sorry. I've just been dealing with some family stuff. My mom's been sick and IVA been trying to help, but I'm also drowning at work and I feel like I'm failing at everything. The words pour out. The snapping stops completely. Daniel doesn't try to fix it, doesn't offer solutions, doesn't minimize her feelings. He just listens, nods, holds space. That's it. That's the entire move. Sarah talks for 10 minutes, gets it all out. The stress, the guilt, the overwhelm. And as she talks, her body changes. Shoulders drop, breathing slows. Hands rest on the table. Still, no more snapping. When she finishes, she laughs. A real laugh. Not the polite ones from earlier. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to dump all that on you. Daniel shakes his head. Don't apologize. I asked because I wanted to know. Sarah reaches across the table, touches his hand. Thank you. Most guys would have just kept talking about themselves. The date continues. But now it's different, lighter, more connected. Because Daniel recognized the signal and responded with emotional intelligence instead of ego. Here's what most people miss about finger snapping and other repetitive stress behaviors. They're not about you. They're about the person's internal state. When someone is snapping their fingers, clicking a pen, tapping their foot there, not bored with you, they're managing anxiety. And if you respond by trying harder, talking louder, being more interesting, you actually make it worse. Because now they have to manage their stress and manage your energy. Double the cognitive load. The strategic move is to reduce pressure, create space, let them breathe. That's what Daniel did, and it transformed the entire interaction. Machiavelli wrote that the wise man does at once what the fool does. Finally, the fool would have kept pushing until Sarah made an excuse and left. Daniel read the signal early and adjusted. That's mastery. By 9 p.m., Sarah is relaxed, smiling, present. They make plans for next week. She hugs him goodbye, holds it a second longer than usual. As Daniel walks to his car, he thinks about the pattern. 3 different contexts. 3 different signals. Same principle. Read the body. Understand the emotion. Respond strategically. It's not manipulation. It's navigation. And he's getting better at it. But the day isn't over. 2 more signals to go. It's 9:45 p.m. Daniel is on a video call with his brother, Tom. Tom called an hour ago, said he needed to talk. Sounded urgent. Now, they're 15 minutes into the conversation, and Daniel still doesn't know what the emergency is. Tom is talking in circles, complaining about his job, his girlfriend, his apartment, and his eyes are blinking. Fast, constant. Daniel is trying to be patient, trying to be supportive, but Tom keeps going. Same complaints. Different words. Blink, blink, blink. Daniel interjects. So what do you need from me? How can I help? Tom sighs. I don't know, man. I just needed to vent. More, blinking. Daniel tries again. Okay, but you said it was urgent. What's actually going on? Tom's blinking increases. His jaw tightens. Why do you always do this? I'm trying to talk to you, and you're interrogating me. There it is. The irritation. The real emotion under the surface. Daniel recognizes it immediately. Not from Tom's words. From his eyes. Frequent blinking is one of the most reliable indicators of emotional discomfort. Specifically irritation, frustration, or impatience. The average person blinks 15 to 20 times per minute. When someone is irritated, that rate can double or triple. It's an involuntary response. The brain is trying to block out stimuli, literally trying to shut out the source of frustration. A 2011 study from the University of Portsmouth found that increased blink rate correlates directly with cognitive stress and negative emotional states. You can't fake it. You can't control it. It just happens. And Tom's eyes are screaming irritation. But here's the tricky part. Daniel has to figure out what Tom is actually irritated about. Is it the situation he's describing? Is it Daniel's questions? Is it something else entirely? Most people would get defensive. Match the irritation. Escalate the conflict. Daniel takes a breath. Softens his tone. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to interrogate you. I just want to understand, so I can actually help. But if you just need me to listen, I can do that too. Tom's blinking slows slightly. His shoulders drop a fraction. I don't know what I need, honestly. I'm just frustrated with everything right now. Daniel nods. I get it. You don't have to have it figured out. I'm here either way. Tom exhales. Thanks, man. I know I'm being difficult. They talk for another 20 minutes. Tom vents. Daniel listens. Asks fewer questions. Gives more space. By the end of the call, Tom's blinking has returned to normal. His voice is calmer. I appreciate you, bro. Sorry for being a pain. Daniel smiles. You're not a pain. Call me anytime. They hang up. Daniel sits back in his chair. That was a minefield. One wrong move, and Tom would have shut down completely. But Daniel navigated it by reading the signal and adjusting his approach in real time. Frequent blinking told him Tom was irritated, but Daniel's questions were making it worse. So he stopped asking, started listening, gave Tom control of the conversation, and Tom's body responded. Blink rate decreased. Tension released. This is where body language psychology becomes truly powerful. Not in detecting emotions, but in knowing how to respond to them. Machiavelli understood that men are driven by two primary emotions, love and fear. But he also understood that irritation sits between them. It's the warning light before fear turns to anger or love turns to resentment. When you see frequent blinking, you're seeing that warning light. You have a choice. Escalate and watch it turn into conflict, or de-escalate and preserve the relationship. Daniel chose preservation, not because he's soft, because he's strategic. Tom is family. You don't win arguments with family. You maintain alliances. That's the long game. That's how you build a network of people who will support you when it matters. Daniel learned that tonight. And he's starting to see how all these signals connect. They're not isolated tricks. They're a complete system of reading and responding to human emotion. One more signal to go. And it's going to tie everything together. It's 11 p.m. Daniel is at a networking event, late-night mixer for young professionals. He's been talking to a potential business contact, Greg, for about 10 minutes. Greg runs a marketing agency. Daniel is interested in collaborating on a project. The conversation started strong. Greg seemed engaged, asking questions, sharing ideas. But now, 5 minutes in, something has shifted. Greg is still nodding, still saying yeah and interesting. 5, but his left hand keeps moving, checking his watch. Not, obviously. Just a quick glance. Then another. Then another. Daniel notices, keeps talking. Tests the theory. He shares another idea. Greg nods, checks his watch. Daniel asks a question. Greg answers, checks his watch again. The pattern is clear. Greg is done with this conversation. Now here's where most people make a fatal mistake. They see the signal. They panic. They talk faster, try harder, become more interesting, and they turn a neutral exit into a negative memory. Greg will leave thinking Daniel is desperate, needy, low value. Daniel knows better. He's been reading signals all day. He knows what watch checking means. It's not subtle. It's not ambiguous. It's the universal sign of boredom or time pressure. When someone checks their watch repeatedly during a conversation, they're communicating one thing: I want this to end. A 2008 study on nonverbal exit cues found that watch checking, along with foot positioning toward exits and decreased eye contact, are the 3 most reliable indicators that someone wants to leave an interaction. It's not rude, it's honest. The body can't lie. Greg isn't interested. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he has another conversation lined up. Maybe Daniel's pitch just isn't landing. Doesn't matter. The signal is clear. So Daniel does something most people can't do. He ends the conversation first. He wraps up his thought, mid-sentence smiles. Hey, I know you've got a lot of people to talk to tonight. I don't want to monopolize your time. Let me give you my card. If anything I mentioned resonates, shoot me an email. I'd love to continue this. Greg's face changes immediately. Relief, gratitude. Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for understanding. I do need to make a few more rounds. But I'll definitely reach out. This sounds interesting. They shake hands. Greg leaves. But he leaves with a positive impression. Because Daniel read the signal and gave Greg what he wanted: an exit. Now here's the dark psychology behind this move. By ending the conversation first, Daniel maintained his value. He didn't wait to be dismissed, he dismissed himself. That flips the power dynamic. Greg now sees Daniel as someone who respects boundaries, someone who reads social cues, someone who has options. If Daniel had kept talking, Greg would have seen him as someone who doesn't understand social dynamics. Someone who needs validation, someone to avoid. Same person, different perception. All because of timing. Machiavelli wrote that timing is everything in matters of power. The man who acts too early wastes his resources. The man who acts too late loses his opportunity. Daniel acted at exactly the right moment. When Greg's body said, "I'm done," but before Greg had to verbally end it. That's the sweet spot. That's mastery. Daniel walks away from that conversation with his dignity intact and a business card in Greg's pocket. Will Greg follow up? Maybe, maybe not. But if he does, he'll remember Daniel as the guy who got it. The guy who understood. And that's worth more than 10 extra minutes of desperate pitching. Daniel grabs a drink from the bar. Looks around the room. He sees it everywhere now. The signals. The patterns. 2 people in the corner. One has hands behind their back. The other is leaning in. Power dynamic, clear. A group of 3. One guy's eyes keep darting. He's uncomfortable. Probably lying about something. A woman at a table, snapping her fingers while scrolling her phone, stressed, anxious. 2 men talking near the exit. One is blinking rapidly, getting irritated. Conversation is about to end badly. Another pair by the window. One keeps checking his watch, the other hasn't noticed. Desperation incoming. Daniel sees it all. The invisible language that controls every interaction. And he realizes something profound. Most people are completely blind to this. They walk through life wondering why conversations fail, why relationships fall apart, why they can't seem to connect. They think it's about words, about what they say, but it's not. It never was. It's about what the body says before the mouth opens. Daniel finishes his drink, heads home. On the drive, he thinks about the day. 5 different contexts. 5 different signals. One unifying principle. Your body speaks louder than your words. And if you can't read that language, you're navigating the world blind. Hands behind the back signals confidence and dominance. Use it to claim space, to establish authority, to make others react to you instead of you reacting to them. Darting eyes signal cognitive discomfort and stress, not lies. Stress. Read it as an opportunity to probe gently, to create safety, to extract truth without force. Finger snapping signals, internal anxiety and overwhelm. Not boredom with you, stress within them. Respond by reducing pressure, creating space, letting them breathe. Frequent blinking signals, irritation and emotional discomfort. It's the warning light. Before conflict, de-escalate, give control. Preserve the relationship. Watch, checking signals boredom or time pressure. It's the exit cue. Don't fight it. End the conversation first. Maintain your value. Leave a positive impression. 5 signals. 5 strategies. 1 complete system. But here's the part nobody talks about. The part that separates amateurs from masters. These signals don't exist in isolation. They cluster. They combine. They create patterns. When someone has their hands behind their back and is blinking rapidly, they're projecting confidence while feeling irritated. That's a dangerous combination. They're about to explode. When someone's eyes are darting and they're snapping their fingers, they're stressed and lying. That's a person in crisis. Handle with care. When someone is checking their watch and has their hands behind their back, they're bored but trying to maintain dominance. That's a power play. They're ending the interaction on their terms. The real skill isn't reading one signal. It's reading the constellation of signals and understanding what they mean together. That takes practice, observation, patience. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Daniel pulls into his driveway, sits in the car for a moment. He thinks about Richard this morning, the hands behind the back, the power play. 6 months ago, that would have crushed him for weeks. Today, he mirrored it and shifted the dynamic in minutes. He thinks about Marcus at lunch, the darting eyes, the hidden stress. 6 months ago, he would have missed it completely. Let the project implode. Today, he caught it early and fixed it. He thinks about Sarah at coffee. The finger snapping, the internal anxiety. 6 months ago, he would have taken it personally. Tried harder, pushed her away. Today, he created space and deepened the connection. He thinks about Tom on the video call. The rapid blinking, the rising irritation. 6 months ago, he would have argued, defended himself, damaged the relationship. Today, he de-escalated and preserved the bond. He thinks about Greg at the networking event. The watch, checking, the clear exit signal. 6 months ago, he would have kept talking, seemed desperate, lost the opportunity. Today, he ended it first and maintained his value. 5 interactions. 5 different outcomes. All because he learned to read the language nobody teaches. Daniel walks inside, gets ready for bed. As he's brushing his teeth, he remembers something he read last week. A quote from Machiavelli that didn't make sense at the time. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Now it makes perfect sense. Your body is what everyone sees. Your words are what few people actually process. If your body says weakness, it doesn't matter how strong your words are. If your body says confidence, it doesn't matter how humble your words are. The body is the truth. The words are the decoration. And most people spend their entire lives decorating while their truth screams the opposite. They say they're confident while their shoulders hunch forward. They say they're honest while their eyes dart away. They say they're interested while checking their watch. The body doesn't lie. It can't. It's hardwired to express what the mind is actually feeling. That's why body language psychology is so powerful. You're not learning to deceive. You're learning to align. When Daniel put his hands behind his back this morning, he wasn't faking confidence. He was embodying it. And his brain chemistry changed to match. When he recognized Sarah's stress and created space, he wasn't manipulating her. He was responding to her actual emotional state with genuine care. When he ended the conversation with Greg, first, he wasn't playing games. He was respecting a clear signal and acting accordingly. This isn't about tricks, it's about fluency. Learning to speak the language that your body already understands, but your conscious mind ignores. Daniel climbs into bed, sets his alarm. Tomorrow is another day, another series of interactions, another chance to practice. But now he has the tools, the awareness, the system. He knows what to look for. He knows what it means. He knows how to respond. And that changes everything. Because power doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you understand. The person who reads the room controls the room. The person who sees the signals shapes the outcome. The person who speaks the body's language writes the script. That's what Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. That's what Daniel learned today. And that's what you're going to learn starting tomorrow. Because here's your challenge. Try the 3-second scan this week in one of these 3 contexts. Professional setting. Watch 4 hands behind the back. Notice who uses it. Notice how others respond. Then try it yourself. Stand near a window or a doorway. Hands clasped behind your back. Chin slightly elevated. See what happens? See how the energy in the room shifts. Social setting. Watch for darting eyes and finger snapping. Notice who's stressed, who's uncomfortable, who's carrying something they're not saying. Then create space for them. Ask an open question. Listen without fixing. See how they respond when someone actually sees them. Public setting. Watch for rapid blinking and watch checking. Notice who's irritated, who's done with the conversation, who's looking for an exit. Then give it to them before they have to ask. End the interaction first. Maintain your value. See how it changes their perception of you. Pick one context. Practice one signal. Master one response. Then come back and tell me what you discovered about someone you thought you knew. What did their body reveal that their words were hiding? What did you learn about them that you never would have caught before? What changed when you responded to the signal instead of the script? The most shocking story gets pinned, because this isn't theory. This is field work. This is how you actually develop the skill. You can watch 100 videos about body language. But until you start seeing it in real time and responding in real situations, it's just information. Information doesn't change your life. Application does. So here's what happens next. You're going to walk into a meeting tomorrow, or a coffee shop, or a family dinner. then you're going to see something you've never seen before. Someone's hands behind their back, someone's eyes darting, someone's fingers snapping, someone's rapid blinking, someone's watch checking, and you're going to have a choice. Ignore it, like you always have. Let the interaction play out on autopilot. Wonder later why it went wrong. Or read it, understand it, respond to it, and watch the dynamic shift in real time. That choice is the difference between people who complain about their relationships, their careers, their lives, and people who actually control them. Daniel made that choice this morning, and by tonight, his entire world had shifted. Not because he became someone different, because he became fluent in the language he was already speaking. Your body is already communicating, every second of every day. The question is whether you're going to learn what it's saying, or keep walking through life wondering why nobody understands you. The signals are there. The system works. The only variable is you. So go practice, go observe, go apply, and come back with your story. Because the people who master this language don't just survive their interactions, they design them. And that's the difference between reacting to your life and creating it. Now you know what Daniel knows. Now you have what Daniel has. The only question left is what you're going to do with it.